When it comes to OPEC, I think two words matter, words I see more probably than you sleek New Yorkers: vanity sizing. When OPEC was getting ready for their big cut, there was a rush to produce and to cut from a big number. Now that we're looking to placate markets and truly another audience entirely, and that was President Trump, it's a question of where you set the baseline and how you judge the gains. Saudi second half production would be offset by Saudi second half consumption of oil, 200,000 barrels per day in burn for electricity on average, plus another 100,000 barrels per day in refining run. So if you're to look at a net million, a top line, a headline million, you might be at a net 700,000 just right there. But the question of when you set the baseline really comes to the bottom of that vanity sizing issue I brought up.
All right, I'm a little confused by that, but let's touch on where you go with politics on this. You say they are playing to a very important audience of one, and that is President Trump. Obviously, OPEC keeps saying it's not a political organization, but what's really happening behind the scenes is that the Saudis are very happy that President Trump ended the Iranian deal. And as a result, you are going to want to see them placate him in some way. Is that what this is? This is a way of placating him, but maybe still trying to show unity when it comes to the OPEC nations?
Well, there's two dimensions to it. The first is the request from the United States, still a major consumer of oil, the biggest in the world, and also the risk that the U.S. could change its laws. There's a law moving through Congress, it's moved through in the past, called the No Oil Producing and Exporting Cartels, NOPEC Act. NOPEC passed but was stopped a decade ago, in 2007. It would make OPEC's ability to move markets illegal under the Sherman Antitrust Act. If that were to pass into law, it could create hardship for some of the OPEC producers, also for some of the cooperating producers like Russia. So there's a need necessarily to show the end users of oil that OPEC is responsive. That's OPEC's sort of headline reason for why they would respond. They want to make sure the market is well supplied. But the second order reason is, yes, political, not necessarily to show that they are answering or responding to President Trump, because as you say, they want to show that they are united and an organization of their own, but probably to stave off the political and geopolitical risk that could come with passage of NOPEC in response to underperformance here today in Vienna.
Eric, I have to say that's the first time I've heard about NOPEC moving through and the idea of using the Sherman antitrust laws against OPEC and its cooperating nations. That's really interesting.
It's an interesting concept because, you know, we've got the ability to sort of leverage and do that because the OPEC producers have all the assets here that we could then go and file a claim and against them, then execute against any kind of judgment in violation of the Sherman Act. But as Brian said, you know, the attempt to do that 10 years ago was unsuccessful. But, you know, we're in a different time now. I mean, we've got a totally different situation with our own domestic industry now, which has become hugely impactful.
We may not need them as much.
Right, that's what I'm saying. OPEC is in a different vein now. I mean, they certainly, if they're going to increase prices, they're going to lose market share. Right. It's not as if they are the sole determiner anymore. So, you know, I'm not sure. But listen, in today's world with President Trump, and he's already been active on Twitter this week as well as he was a month or so ago.
And the old playbooks have been thrown out the window. So.
You're darn right. Yeah. So I think Brian's right. The geopolitical risk of something going on in Washington to undermine the effort is real.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.